Are we going to continue?
Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Dan Maldonado. This your first time listening, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. This podcast comes from two lifelong fans of IndyCar and other forms of motorsport. Before we get on to the discussion on the 2024 IndyCar schedule, I got to introduce you to my co-host, Tim Reiner. Timmy!
Hello, Dan. How are you?
How are you? Tim,
I'm
it's been
good.
a while
I'm glad
since we
you
had to do
remembered your name.
two takes on the intro.
Two takes. You're right, because you couldn't remember your name on the first one.
Can you remember my name?
Well, I tried to
It's
help
been
you
a long
out,
day,
but you
Timmy.
cut that recording off real quick. So we're on recording number 2. We'll see if we can get through today's show with not having any other interruptions.
Well,
you're good.
The producer who's going to post and produce the show this week will just piece them together if we need to.
Yeah, for sure. Which is me today, right?
It is.
Yeah. After you did the last one.
I'm wonderful. How about you?
I'm so good.
You shaved.
So I did. I shaved just about everything. It's a little weird. Some meetings today, so I figured I'd shave. And I don't know. I don't have to, but I figured it's going to be a nice weekend. So I wanted to make sure I was ready for some sun, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the reason was that I shaved. Mm-hmm. Change. I like change. Let me ask you this, Dan. I do like change. I don't like going... And here's what I mean, like very minimal change, but I like change in a way that if you go somewhere and you go somewhere on multiple occasions, do you always go the same way or do you take a different route just because you don't want to see the same thing over and over? To me, that's change. Like I can't do repetitive things. Your face, you looking at me like I'm crazy.
Because you are. You are. This is the hardest I've been sold in a long time, and I'm not buying.
Too funny. So yeah, I just don't go the same way. So I like change. I like different scenery, maybe. Yeah. Variety is the spice of life. I have no idea what
That's
I'm saying.
A fact.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with your shaving. Tim, you know,
is that what we were on?
we did a schedule podcast, an IndyCar schedule podcast last year because you were fired up over the fact that it was just kind of blah, right?
I think you're right. Yes, I was a little upset about last year's schedule, but it didn't turn out to be a bad schedule, I guess.
No,
but I don't know if anybody's ever going to be wowed when a new schedule comes out because this one doesn't wow me either. Does it wow you, Dan?
I don't think it wows any. Well, I don't know if I'm really if the schedule. If I'm wowable by the schedule, right? It's just the schedule, right?
Yeah,
tell me where the races are going to be, where I find them on TV, and that's all I care. And of course, you know, I have the wish list from my bride and my baby girl. So I need to know where we're going. Yeah.
Well, you live in the Midwest and you could probably get to 90% of the races within, a few hours. So
yeah. And I nixed 3 of those. So we're going to choose to go further, change. We're going to take the route.
You got to take a different route. Yes. A little change. See, it all comes together.
Yeah.
And there's a little change in the schedule too. Like change is
change in the
evident
schedule.
and it's inevitable. And so, we're going to have to work with it.
10 races on NBC, which I'm sure was tricky because of the Olympics next year. So there's a couple of breaks in the schedule. One is just the break in the schedule, which we'll talk about. The break in the schedule is the Olympics.
Seems like a good number.
10 is fine. It's a little less than what it was last year, but 10 is fine. 6 on USA. That doesn't seem to bother me. I don't really have a problem with it being on USA. I understand the big picture perspective, right? Like, viewership and, you want to continue this growth of viewership, which, 2023 was another record year for viewers. So, congratulations, but it's going to be tough next year, right? It's going to be tough because the Olympics and everything else that's kind of on there. So,
it's a contract year too.
It's a contract year too. So, last year was a great year to have going into a contract year. So 10 on NBC, 6 on USA, 2 on Peacock, which is of course a change because in the past year it was just Toronto that was just on Peacock. But, you have the Milwaukee Mile. Oh,
yeah. Race 1 is on.
Did I just let the cat out of the bag, Tim?
I think everybody knows Milwaukee's on the schedule.
Everyone knows at this point.
There's 2.
2. You know why? Because Texas is gone. Texas is on hiatus. That's what I'm learning to. That's what I'm choosing to call it. Texas is on hiatus. Tim, when I look at the schedule, there's 3 things that pop out to me. Okay, so the first one obviously is everybody's been clamoring for this Milwaukee race to come back. I am not one of them. You are one of them.
I love the mile.
I'm Yeah, you're taking me. So I can't wait to see it in person and experience it in person. But
I like it in its old spot. I like it right after the 500 because you come off of a huge, massive super speedway, we'll call it, and then you get into a mile oval, and then you got. I just love the different wing configurations going from one to the next and how it looked back in the day. So I'm a little concerned on where it falls in the schedule, just because I just want it where I want it. But other than that,
I just want it
it
where I
should be a
want
good
it.
race.
Change-averse, right?
Change,
Mr. Change wants it back to the old way. There you go.
Well,
continually proving my point. The end of August. So yeah, that's quite the change. But that's again
Labor Day weekend, I believe that is.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I wasn't in favor of this thing, but you, of course, were, and it's not going to be.
Let's talk about that.
That's what I want to hear from you.
You were like totally sort of against it, and then you ended up visiting Road America, and you went to that event, which was a very family-friendly event.
So awesome.
And I think what you did, you sort of changed your perspective that it really doesn't compete with that from a clientele and sort of.
I don't think it will. Yeah, and venue and just kind of what it brings. Yeah, I think they're different enough.
So I think coming out of that, you were like, well, it wouldn't be bad to have Milwaukee. And have you changed again? Speaking of change,
I'm indifferent to it. I'm fine that it's back. I'm, look forward to seeing it. Look forward to seeing the cars. Looking forward to see what IndyCar does to promote it. I mean, they've done an amazing job with Detroit. They've done an amazing job working with the Hy-Vee people to promote Iowa. So, well, I'm curious to see how that all comes together, right? Like what they're going to do, because it's Labor Day weekend. It's Milwaukee. I think you have to kind of look at it from the perspective of you got to make it exciting. You got to make it an event. You got to make it an event around the showcase of the races. So I'm curious to see what happens there. If you gave me a list of choices, it wouldn't be my first place to go to. It really wouldn't. I would rather choose, Richmond. I would rather choose a Phoenix. I'd rather choose a Phoenix because if IndyCar is going to spend money and promote a race, it's the same thing with Phoenix, right? Got to get it promoted, put it early in the season because you got this great big break in the schedule, and you're going out west anyway to go to Thermal for a non-points race, for a gimmick race. So why not? Yeah. Why not try to loop in Phoenix while you're out there?
Yeah, I don't like the 2 races. The 2 races bothers me. I
think it bothers everybody, but I think IndyCar sold 17 races to their sponsors and their teams, and they got to have 17 races. And with Texas falling off, which is part 2. But with Texas falling off, I think this was the next best thing, right?
Yeah. I think it just diminishes the race, right? It just diminishes which one's more important. Are they both equal? And which one do you watch, right? Who's going to spend 2 days watching IndyCar races, right? Like you and I will, and the IndyCar faithful will, but the average viewer's not. So you're going to catch them maybe on Saturday. Yeah. Are you going to catch them on Sunday? And if they know there's one on Saturday and Sunday, are they going to go? Are they different? Is there a reason there's 2? I don't like the Iowa one either. I never did like the 2 races. I just don't. Yeah. I don't like the back-to-back. And when they did it in Detroit, what day do you go? I don't know. I think it diminishes the thought of it's race day, right? Because now you have 2 race days,
right? And if you don't already have Peacock, you're not going to be compelled to subscribe to Peacock because I'll just miss Saturday's race and I'll watch it Sunday on USA.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
But going back, to the pick, right? To me, I'd pick something else. I'd pick a different market. But I will say this, if you're looking for the Chicago market and you don't want to pay Chicago prices necessarily, then this is the place to go. Right? Yeah, it gives you kind of that Chicago-ish market. It doesn't take anything. I don't believe it's going to take anything away from Road America. and it kind of gives you that Chicago-ish kind of market. And here's the deal. I find this interesting. IndyCar's, in terms of their best TV markets, Milwaukee's their 7th best TV market.
So you should race there.
Milwaukee's
There's a lot of others that have great markets.
38th best, or Milwaukee in general is the 38th largest TV market, like nationally.
Yeah.
You know, Texas, of course, is 5th, but you know, who's counting?
Yeah, and the whole Texas thing, I guess it doesn't bother me a ton. I know it bothers a lot of people. I don't like the optics there.
But you never said. Why are you so good with Milwaukee coming back?
I like the fairgrounds. I like the historical roots. I just like that all that comes with that. I feel like it's cotton candy and popcorn and the soda truck and all that stuff that goes along with being an event from the past that is brought to the future. It's a great place to watch a race. You can see all the way around. I think the optics are going to be good for IndyCar, which is, I think, what they need on TV. That's what I always look for when I'm watching is what does it look like to somebody who just tuned in? Does it look like an event, or does it look like we're putting on a race? We got a few stragglers that came along with us, and so I'm going to watch. So I think for me, it's if I'm a casual viewer and I'm scrolling the TV and I stop on the race because I enjoy sports, let's call it, and it looks like to me nobody's there, I'm not sticking around.
So you're talking about
I'm moving
Texas.
on. Yeah, so I would just move right off that if I wasn't the fan, because I'm like, why? No one's going to it. Why am I interested from a TV perspective? I need that excitement, and I don't feel like Texas brings it. And I think bringing Milwaukee back will have that excitement. Now I'm confused on why I'm not confused. I'm concerned that there's 2 races because it doesn't bring that same sort of hype. So that's my concern with Milwaukee. Yeah. But I think it's a great market. It's a market that, as you mentioned, is big in watching IndyCar. So I think you're going to have a lot of people turn up, and it's going to look good for the series.
Yeah.
And I think the racing is always good. I love, you either take it high in turn 1 and dive in, or you take it low. There's different lines there. As long as you put the right tires, you don't have a ton of marbles, I think you can get multiple lines and you can get some very good racing. And I don't mind cars getting lapped. So you're going to have cars getting lapped. You have lap traffic to deal with, which, impacts who's leading that race. Because you could have a great car and be out front for 2.5 laps. And next thing you know, you're in traffic. And you have to perform in traffic as well. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah. I like the short ovals. I mean, I do like that. They've never historically been able to do well with them. I mean, Phoenix has been on, it's been off, it's been on, it's been off. They didn't, they scheduled Richmond prior to COVID. They never rescheduled it.
I don't love Richmond. I don't know why. I just, been there. I've seen it.
I like the idea
of and
the East Coast is what I like.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what I like, that part of it, right? I think the East Coast, we all know they don't have a race out there and need one, whether it's more in the Pennsylvania area or whatever it might be. There has to be.
I'm not a fan of. I'd rather see us go back to Watkins Glen.
I don't mind that. It's a wonderful road course and
beautiful
picture. A lot of history. I love history and a good track for IndyCar to showcase what the cars can do on track and what the drivers can do. So I don't mind that. Pocono, I think you need another 500 miler, but it's not happening in 24, and I don't think it's happening in the near future by any means.
Yeah. I think the second race at Milwaukee, like I said, I think is necessary because, IndyCar wants that 17 race schedule. It's what they told their sponsors, their partners, I'm sure NBC. So they had to fill that gap somewhere. It's the first year for Milwaukee. So I think they probably feel like, hey, if somebody doesn't want to spend their entire Labor Day weekend going to an IndyCar race in Milwaukee, then you've got options, right? You can spend Friday night, Saturday night, Saturday night, and then go somewhere else Sunday, Monday, because you've got the opportunity, or vice versa, right? So you've got a little bit of option there. I still choose to believe that Texas is a hiatus. And this is the second piece that we'll talk about here. I'm calling Texas a hiatus because, to me, I don't think there's any way IndyCar, who has raced there since 1997, will simply walk away from that venue. We've had some racing concerns there. I'm 100% in agreement with you. When you look at it on TV, it doesn't look great because it's empty.
Hmm.
but you got to get the racing right. You got to get the promotion right. They did sign it. That racing was right this year. They did sign an extension. We know, they just couldn't find a spot on the calendar, so I'm choosing to call it a hiatus. DFW, like I said, Dallas is the fifth largest TV market, and I know that that doesn't necessarily matter because when you take a look at IndyCar's top markets, it's not one of them.
Hmm.
But NTT's U.S. headquarters is in Plano, Texas.
Hmm.
All right,
There's a lot of big companies out there in
to
Plano.
me, one of your more likely engine choices, third engine manufacturers, Toyota. Toyota's U.S. headquarters, Plano, Texas.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you look at the Hispanic fan base, Pato Award, and everything that Pato brought to that race last year, where you're not going to get that anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. I think being away might be good for the race there. I think being away, you grow fonder of the event, and over time, you'll.
Well, yeah, look at everybody all romantic about Milwaukee,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you got to move around and do different things. And I don't think Texas was, really doing anything for the series in my mind to attract new um, viewers. Maybe attract some additional corporate sponsors, maybe. But when it looks like that and it feels like that, I don't know if that's something I'm going to jump into. And I don't think if I'm the marketing guy that's going to my COO and saying, or CFO or whoever it might be, saying we should, invest in this. They come here and look at what they do. It's not great in my opinion. So um, I'm excited, and I'm not disappointed they're not in Texas. It doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, I'm bothered by it. I'm fine with Milwaukee being back on there. I'm more disappointed they couldn't find some common ground to figure out Texas.
I don't know why you don't
Right?
fill in a Kansas or a Richmond or a Phoenix, like fill something else
Yeah,
in there. That would be a little more exciting. And
Phoenix.
if you do a Kansas, then you're not traveling that far. You do Richmond, you're not going that far. And then to your point, if you're doing Phoenix, you're already out there. Well, sort of. So get out there
Tim,
and
you're
do
doing
it.
St. Pete March 10th. Then you're going to Thermal for the $1 million challenge on March 24th. And then you have Long Beach on April 21st,
Huge gap. Fill it
right?
in.
You should be able to race at Phoenix in early April.
Yeah, and I don't know
Weather
if that
should be
just
right.
goes down to planning and not planning appropriately in early in the season to fill that. Like that should have been key, like number one. Like
Yeah,
let's fill the front end of the season a little bit, because I think as you mentioned later, the back end is
brutal.
brutal. You go
Yeah,
from track to track to track, and
yeah.
so how do you move? How do you put another one in there, and how do you only do one race in Milwaukee? Would be my biggest change. Let Iowa do what they want to do. I feel like they've got a lot of corporate sponsors. They do a lot of stuff with bringing concerts in, as everybody knows, and making it an event. So that makes sense. I think they moved the Saturday one to a night race, right? So they've sort
Mm.
of changed that venue, which I think we need. I was just looking at Milwaukee to see if it was different race lengths, but that's not out yet. It's just, the
That'd
venue
be
is
nice
what
if
it
it is
is.
like a 225 or a 250 or a
Yeah.
200 and a 225 or something like that. I think would
Yeah,
be,
because I think you got to
yeah.
differentiate the two, and why, because otherwise you put them on the same strategy if you're running the same distance, right? And so
If it
how
worked for
different
you on
does each
Saturday, it
race
should
look?
work for you on Sunday, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
The other
for
thing we
sure.
talk about Phoenix is um,
It's reconfigured. I don't know what that
you've
does for
got
IndyCar.
you've got oh, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, because I
You
was
have
talking about the reconfiguration,
yeah,
which I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
how that suits IndyCar, right? You watch a NASCAR race there, and they race
Maybe
below
it's
the
the
circuit, like
right.
they're on the apron.
No, you're going from Road America. So you're going Indy, Detroit, Road America. That's kind of back to back to back, and then you've got a little bit of a break, and then you go to Laguna Seca, and then you've got 2 weeks, and then you're at Mid Ohio. You could, I mean, it's back to back to back, but you could hit Phoenix the week before Laguna. You could hit Phoenix the week after Laguna.
Yeah, which I don't want it there. I want it earlier in the season, right?
Totally, because you don't
Think
want to
about
you
think
don't
about
want
your
to
fan base. Your fan
roast
base
people
is
in the stands there.
Midwest.
Yeah.
What is it like in March? Still horrible weather here. You get a Phoenix race that has the optics of the desert, the sun, what's to come for the year for the viewer, and what they need to look forward to when it comes to just having nice weather here again. And I don't mean to make it about the weather, but I mean to make it like an event you may want to go to as a destination, and number two, an event you want to watch because it reminds you of what's to come here for spring in the Midwest, and that's your fan base. And I think everybody that lives here, is excited about taking vacations during those gloomy months and getting out and seeing the sun. So if you can sit in your living room and see the sun and watch a race, and then if you really want to go, you can go and enjoy the warm weather, then that's what it needs to be. It needs to be a destination for some of these folks that are big fans.
If you think about some of the other oval venues in and around the Midwest, Kansas City, too close to St. Louis. Kentucky. I keep hearing people talk about Kentucky, not necessarily in the context of IndyCar, but I keep hearing people talk about Kentucky is in no shape to host anything.
Yeah.
It's a Ford F-150 parking lot.
Yeah, I guess I was by it not too long ago. It looked okay from a distance, but I've not seen
covered
it
in Ford F-150s, wasn't it, when you were there? Yeah.
Well, I didn't go.
It was
that
when I was
close
there.
to actually see. Well, I'm sure they got the chips by now. Maybe they're on.
Yeah, you'd think, but it didn't look like it was in any kind of condition to host anything. So, there's that. Richmond, I'm a fan of because I think the market would be cool for IndyCar there. Phoenix, obviously, I'm a fan of. I don't know the state of what Miami looks. I don't watch enough NASCAR. I don't know what Homestead. Looks like, or how these cars would race at Homestead. But I think to me it looks like the Texas thing was kind of a last minute change, and I think it definitely wasn't enough time for IndyCar to respond to it appropriately, because you're getting a doubleheader at Milwaukee, right? Yeah. And it's going to be IndyCar. I think Penske Entertainment's either promoting it or co-promoting it. It sounds like at least co-promoting it. So they probably just figured, of the venues that we have that we're sort of in charge of, this would be the easiest one for us to just stack a second race on.
Yeah.
And that's,
which I like it being an oval. You just want a different one, right? Have multiple ovals, not just the ones you got so far. So,
So we talked about the back half of the schedule being brutal, and you're absolutely right. So, I mean, starting with 2 races at Iowa, 1 week later, you're in Toronto. Then you have your summer break, July 21st to August 17th. It's kind of forced because it's the Olympics, right? NBC is definitely going to put all of their efforts and everything into, showcasing the Olympics. They pay billions and billions and billions of dollars for that. Then you go Gateway to Portland to Milwaukee in 3 weeks, back to back to back. So it's 2,054 miles, according to Apple Maps, Gateway to Portland. Then it's 2,063 miles, Portland to Milwaukee, right? And at least they have 2 weeks rest before the finale at Nashville. But that's a tough schedule. That is a tough schedule.
Which we know it's condensed because of the Olympics. You'd like to think you could put more before the Olympics, but it's tough to switch those, I'm sure, right? It's just a tough situation. And the other thing, and I'm probably going to get ridiculed for this, but I don't love ending on a street course. I think just too much can happen.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's not
one of my... this a few weeks ago, or a few podcasts ago.
Well, I like that. Well, I don't know if I liked it. I don't love. I'd rather end on a.
Hey, babe, you're embracing change. I'm all in.
Yeah, I don't know if I love it. I just think Nashville has been known for races that just
tough
are not very friendly on cars and drivers.
You don't want to say Crashville, right? You want to be
I don't want to say Crashville. I feel like that's too used. I know last year it wasn't, or this past year it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And it's going to be reconfigured, which could be cool. Could you make it an awesome event for the finale? I think you can. It just
there's an oval there.
No, well, yeah. Then I just think it could be a little tricky there. But I like that it's later in the schedule. Hopefully the heat is somewhat bearable for the folks that'll be there.
Right. I was there this year, right around that time, right? Middle middle August.
You might have been, yeah.
Yeah, August. It wasn't bad. It wasn't. We
No.
walked in the morning and we around the
Hmm.
evening. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Got a few other observations, Timmy. Got to see what you tell me. How do you feel about this non-points race at Thermal?
I don't care for it, honestly. Like, it does nothing for me. Heat races, different than what we've normally done. As I mentioned before, it feels like a boys club kind of meeting. And yeah, we're going to let you
I heard
watch a little
somebody
bit.
earlier
We're not
today
going to have
call it millionaire
fans.
50-50.
Yeah, like I don't know. Of course I'm going to watch. I'm going to check it out. I hope it proves me wrong that it's actually a good thing, that change is good, and you really want to see something like this. But
Would you
you
use
have
an
a month and
NBC
a
slot
week,
for
I
that?
think, between two points races, so that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I'm
Would you
sorry.
use an NBC slot for that if you're IndyCar?
No, I think that's a Peacock. I don't think that's a.
It's not. It's on NBC.
Yeah, I see that's
Right.
where
Yeah.
it is, but I don't think you put it in there. And I'm curious how they're going to promote it and what it sort of looks like and who's going to be there. Um, you're going to be racing around homes
Yeah. I don't
on a
love the
private
optics of it.
course.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk
I
about
don't.
optics. I don't like the optics of it.
Yeah, it's the rich man's club, and I don't care for it.
Mhm. Long Beach, by the way, is on USA.
Terrible choice.
Long Beach is the second most popular, second most watched, right? It's the longest running event other than the 500 on their schedule. I don't know why it's on USA. I don't. Maybe that was the switch, right? It was, well, we definitely want to put Thermal on NBC because of the hype, and somebody has to be sacrificed, and for some whatever reason they sacrificed Long
Hmm.
Beach. I did look on the PGA Tour schedule to see if there's a, because any of the other big properties that NBC has from a sporting perspective, they're not running that time of year, right? There's no football in April. So I
Hmm.
don't know what would have preempted that or what made that reason to do that. There's no PGA Tour golf happening that weekend on NBC. It's I looked it up. It's on CBS that week.
Hmm.
Um, that weekend. It could be, my best guess is a pre-Olympic event, so there could still be some Olympic qualifying going on that maybe NBC is broadcasting that weekend. It's the only thing I can think of. Tim,
Yeah,
big deal or big deal? This is a big
it's a
deal.
big deal. That needs to be on
Yeah,
NBC. You need to
totally agree.
put that race where it belongs. It's to your point, the history, how long it's been there, the fan base that comes. It's an event, right? People show
Hmm.
up, and it's definitely something to watch. Now, this Thermal Club, I I'm still stuck on this one. Like, it should not be on NBC, number one. Put it on USA, flip flop it out is fine.
Hmm.
And I'll tell
Play
you,
on
Thermal's
Peacock,
beautiful, but the optics are not going to be great.
right?
And the only thing I can think of, and I'm sort of being facetious here, is if you're having this event and the BMW driving school there, I hope they announce that BMW is coming as an engine manufacturer, which I know they're not, but that's what I'm hoping. I drove that course and I know what it's like. It's beautiful there, and they've got their own little club there, if you will. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Streets of Long Beach should be on NBC for sure, and it should be a showcase for the IndyCar series. And it seems to be being put on the back burner for whatever reason when it comes to television.
Yeah, bad choice as far as I'm concerned. Are you going to miss the second IndyCar or the Indy road course race?
Not no. I don't even know why they. No,
L-
I'm not going to
let
miss it at all.
Let me put it to you this way: are you going to miss the Indy NASCAR crossover weekend?
Mm-mm. I
You
never
won't miss
watched the
that.
NASCAR event.
Me neither. But I liked the IndyCar event with the NASCAR guys. Dale Jr. was there, and Dale Jer. They were on that broadcast, and I thought that was pretty cool. Steve
Yeah, I
Letarte. I,
guess.
I liked that part of it. And then I didn't watch the race, but I watched like the startup, and Hinch was on there and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. I liked
But
that.
I think I like that. That's great, and I think there's other venues you could do with NASCAR to make that happen. And again, it's not at Penske's home track, but we'll put another street course in. Go to
Hmm.
Chicago. Go to
Oh
Chicago with NASCAR, right?
no, you got Milwaukee. You've got Road America. You're saturated in that market now.
Yeah, but you could do that, or you could, I don't know. It seems like the logical
Go to
input to
Watkins
have.
Glen with IndyCar or with NASCAR.
I guess you could, but I don't know if the hype's there for that.
I don't mind it. You
Hmm.
can hype it. Anything can be hyped.
Yeah, I
Give away some
guess it just.
tickets. Put it on the right TV on the right time and the right weekend and everything. I think everything can be hyped. I
Yeah.
like the idea of the crossover. Now, one thing I did hear that I never really considered was, well, why wouldn't IndyCar just try to go to Texas with NASCAR? Let them have the Sunday. IndyCar runs on Saturday. I don't think NASCAR wants to have IndyCars riding at 230 miles an hour and then you get those lumbering taxi cabs out the next day.
It could be it. I like the idea because I think you're obviously going to have people that are camping there that'll go to the IndyCar race and see what IndyCar can do and the speed they can bring, which would be good because I think that's how we all sort of back in the day fell in love with IndyCar was,
Mm-hmm.
you know, these super speedways, if you will, and going 200 plus miles an hour. It was exciting, right? And it was risky and it was on edge and all that stuff that comes with open wheel racing. So I like the idea, but to your point, I don't I don't think NASCAR has anything to worry about when it comes to bringing
I
IndyCar
don't think
to
so either.
the track. I just, NASCAR fans are NASCAR fans. They're always going
Yeah,
to
I
be
don't
there.
think so either. I really don't. I mean, I get the rationale, I get the thought of it, but I don't
Hmm.
think they have anything to worry about there.
Yeah.
That's all I got. That's the
Yeah.
schedule. I'm excited about the schedule, to be honest with you. I got to clean up one thing on behalf of a couple of listeners.
Oh,
Um,
what do we do?
my bride and my baby girl. I think I mentioned something to the effect during the last podcast that my bride and baby girl were giddy that George Russell wrecked out of third
Oh,
place in Singapore, which I still haven't watched. So I've been asked to clean it up, and this is the best way I can clean it up. They were not giddy that George Russell wrecked out of third place. They were giddy that George Russell wrecked and it gave third place to Lewis Hamilton.
okay.
So needed to clean that up on
All right.
behalf of my bride, who helps all this stuff go around, and my baby girl, who is the junior member of the social media team right now.
It's good. We need
Yeah,
some help on that front, so
yeah,
we'll take some help for sure.
yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
that's all I got. Tim,
I'm
that's all I
looking forward
got.
to yeah, I'm looking forward to 2024. It'll be fun to see how the schedule goes and how things work out. Obviously Thermal's new, Milwaukee's new, obviously an old event, and and they mixed up the schedule and have Nashville last. So we'll see how that
Yeah,
all plays out. So
yeah.
it'll be fun.
I don't mind. Nashville at the finale doesn't bother me. It's one of the races that we're targeting to go to. I think it'll be a nice. I think it'll be a nice. I think it'll be a nice venue. I think it'll be fun to be
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
And then when you buy us tickets for Milwaukee, let me know and I'll book us the hotel like I always do.
Yeah. I just got to figure out which one I'm going to
We
book
got to
for,
we got to
race
get
one
cooking on
or
that though,
two.
because I think the hotel space in Milwaukee is getting tighter and tighter. So we may end up
Hmm.
having to stay somewhere outside, like Geneva or something else.
Take the RV, park it at the track on the fairgrounds.
It's fine. Just make it
All
happen.
right. There you go. No hotel needed.
There you
Budget
go.
friendly.
Dude, I have no problem with that. It's totally up
Can
to
we
you.
take the ferry over? Isn't there a ferry that still goes?
Yeah, and you know what? It'd be like the equivalent of flying private.
I like that.
As long as you're paying for it, I'll do whatever you want to do.
You're saying it's that expensive to get across, or you
Yes.
just
Yeah, because I've looked at it several times.
Oh, you have?
Mm-hmm.
I have not looked at it. It's very
Yeah.
expensive to get your car across the Lake Michigan.
Yep.
The Lake Michigan. I don't
Yeah,
know
but
what called
it's your big car and it's your trailer and it's two people. It's expensive.
All right. We'll check it
Yeah.
out.
Check
Let
it
you
out.
know.
You make
All
it
right.
happen. Hey, whatever you tell me we're doing with regards to Milwaukee, I'll make it happen.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. That's all I got, Timmy.
Same here.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Be sure to engage with us on social media. Tell us your thoughts on the schedule. Tell us your thoughts on Texas. Tell us your thoughts for upcoming podcast topics, such as, did the best driver in IndyCar win the championship in 2023?
I can answer that right now.
Or who do you think the best driver in 2024 is going to be? Is it
Oh
going to
my
be a
goodness.
repeat or somebody new?
Wow.
That's what I'd like to know.
Oh, that's hot.
That's hot.
I have a feeling. Who do you think is going to be the next hot driver in the series? I've got my theories on who that's going to be.
I'm putting all of my eggs in the Scott McLaughlin basket for 2024.
Got my eggs on a guy you wouldn't think, but based on the move he made, I think he's going to be
Devlin DeFrancesco, sixth to first in the Indy road course.
Definitely not him.
Oh,
but there's somebody else that I think is going to surprise a lot of people in 2024. And I just have a hunch. It's a hunch. That's all it is.
Marcus Armstrong.
No, it's not. You cannot
Who
guess.
is it?
We'll save it for another podcast.
Save for another podcast. There
That's
it goes.
all I got, folks.
Thanks, everybody. Catch you next time. Every 2 weeks, we shall be here. Be sure to hit subscribe either on your favorite podcast app or the YouTube channel. We'll catch you next time.